I'm here with Zach Winger. I'm Zach Winger, and I'm talking to Zach Winger.
The
Man,
other Zach
this
Winger.
is so
Yes.
yeah. This is so crazy.
Yeah, it's like I said like a couple minutes ago. We've probably been DMing for it's been a year or two at this point, or maybe a year and a half or whatever, but for this to finally happen is pretty cool. Being able to finally talk to you and stuff. It's nice.
Dude, it's awesome. I've been seeing on Instagram a lot lately. Like if I know one thing about you, it's that you run track, and you seem to be pretty damn good at it from what I see. So first, I wanted to say like congrats on all your success lately. I see like all your posts, and I think I saw you just got like you hit a new PR for the 300 meter hurdle. I think,
Mhm.
right?
It was the
That
400 hurdles. So we just
or
had
four.
our thank you. So it was this past weekend was our outdoor track and field conference championship. So we're in the Big Sky Conference. And I ended up getting a silver medal, so second place in the men's 110-meter hurdles with my second fastest 110 hurdle time in my career with 13:98. So that was pretty fun. I was ranked third going in to the conference meet, and so to place higher than your seed is actually it's a good thing, and it brings more points to the team. So overall, can't be mad at that at all. Great race. And then I did set a lifetime best in the 400 hurdles, 52:77, and ended up getting
Dude,
third.
that's fast. That is
Yeah,
fast.
thank you, man. It was brutal. Like that, the last 50 meters of that 400 hurdle race is always you are just fighting for your life.
I can imagine, dude. I was gonna tell you. I don't know if I ever said, but I did track in high school. But it
But
was
yeah,
like pretty minimal, and it was only like my junior year because my senior year was the when COVID happened, so I didn't really have a chance to like go crazy with it.
mhm.
But I did a 4x400 once, and I had a terrible time. And then I had like a 24-second. I think my PR for the 200 was like a 24:32. So it wasn't quite enough to qualify for state, but I don't think I was slow. But dude, I could not run a well, first of all, I never even tried hurdles, but I couldn't even run a normal 400 in 52 seconds. That's
It's
pretty
the
good. I say I might have cut out. I think you're muted now. Okay.
there you go.
Okay. Yeah, yeah.
So I don't know what's happened. Yeah, the 400 in general is just such a brutal race, and then when you add hurdles into it,
Yeah.
it becomes a completely different beast. Just trying to jump over. Well, really, hurdling like when you talk about it, like it looks like jumping, but hurdling is more of like you're running through it or like stepping over it.
Yeah.
So, but when you're just doing that for 400 meters, it's awful.
Yeah, I can only imagine. When I was in high school, there was one of my teammates, Elijah, was like the guy basically, and he was working on getting his 400 time down to like 49, 48, and like every time he
Yeah.
was running, it was getting like faster and faster. He was fast, and he like qualified for state and all that. But again, then COVID kind of happened, and didn't really get to have as good of like a track career as we could have. But dude, it was fun to watch, like in the track and field community and the meets and all that. Like when I
Mhm.
was ready for, and this is a little bit off topic now, but or at least a little bit, but even thinking about track and field now and like the idea of like me having a race, my heart starts like pounding, and it's such like it's so intense, and like you're just running and all these people are screaming and stuff. It's like it's a lot going on.
Goes off, so all that adrenaline and the pressure, if you let it get to you, it can mess you up like mentally. So really, you have to be like 100% like just mentally ready to go when that gun goes off because that is your one shot, right? So jumpers they get a certain amount of attempts. But for them, like all of my roommates are jumpers, and I mean, obviously a lot of my teammates are jumpers too. So when I talk to them, like they get nervous for the meets, but like the anxiety and like the race adrenaline for what we go through is a little different than what they do. But yeah, I mean, I remember growing up, I played baseball, baseball, basketball, soccer, and I was never nervous for those things. And I remember my very first track meet, I was 9 years old, and I remember like looking at my parents and being like, I think I'm gonna throw up, and and they're like, yeah, that's track and field for you. So I guess that's one of like the most distinct things about track is it just gives you the bubble guts every time you're about to go run.
Yeah, yeah, it's weird, like, especially when I was in high school still, like, this thing about meets the next day, like, I'd be nervous, like, days in advance.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
I had a false start one time, and I was devastated, dude, because I was just, like, so ready to go, and, like you said, you don't get a second chance, so I was like, "Really?" I was kinda fired up about it. I was like, "I made one little tiny mistake," and I was like, You guys aren't gonna let me, like, go again or whatever," but, uh
Retry. Yeah.
yeah, it's like, I get it, 'cause I'm the one who fucked up or whatever, but
Yeah.
yeah, I was pretty fired up, and I, like, had to watch all the other kids go, and I'm just sitting there because I false started. I was pretty upset about that one.
Yeah, it's tough, and the whole one and done rule. I mean, it makes sense, right? Like we always talk about, you have that one shot once the gun goes off, but for it to be fair, everyone has to wait for that gun to go off. So if you mess up once, obviously you're disqualified. But yeah, DQs are they're tough. They're tough to deal with because you warm up and you're expecting this crazy adrenaline. You're expecting all this to happen, and then there's just nothing, and that's just it leaves you with like a crazy weird like pit in your stomach. Just you're like, oh, what could have been and whatever. So yeah,
Yeah.
that 100% makes sense.
Have you had a, false start or disqualification for, like, any reason?
Yeah, so actually, let's see, this was last year. It was my first outdoor 110-meter hurdle race. This was my junior year, so like a full year ago. um I was, got to the starting line, whatever, did my practice start over hurdle one, walk back to the blocks, and I had some problems with the blocks during the practice like time that we get before the race starts, and I had taken a push out, and my blocks had slipped backwards.
Oh, man.
I don't know why something was wrong with them, or maybe it was my fault. I didn't smack it into the mondo hard enough. So in my head when I was getting into the blocks, that was already in my brain. So when the starter said set, we were already in our blocks. I got up, and I didn't quite go forward, but I flinched a little bit. Like my body just kind of like just moved. It was like a weird involuntary reaction. It just happened,
Yeah.
and they just said, stand up. And usually they give you a warning if that happens, but for whatever reason they
Right.
said no, like you're out of here. And I
Oh,
was
shit.
I was pissed, dude. Like that was my opener. That was my first race of the season. I was so excited. I felt great. And they, for in my head, they took it away from me because I messed up, obviously. So I got to take accountability for it. But yeah, I mean, that was the one time that I've ever false started in college. And
Oh,
it left me with the worst feeling. And I ended up coming back later that day and running the 400 hurdles. And I just ran like I was mad the whole time. So I actually ran a pretty good race. But for the 110s themselves, like it was just like wow, like I felt so good that day, and it just kind of sucked. But yeah, that
yeah.
was the only that was the only time in college. I false started one time in high school. I was a sophomore. I was pissed as well, but when you're when you're running in college, it's a little different because like this is like your job, right? Like this is
Mhm.
like everything I invested my life into this sport. Now I'm here and it's finally paying off. And then for me to be like, damn, I can't run.
Yeah.
It's so, but that was the only
Uh,
time, thankfully.
yeah, it
I've
seems like
been,
you learned your lesson. Sorry to interrupt you a little bit,
I don't
but
know, no, go
yeah,
for it. You know, go for
only
it.
once you said it was only once, and it was your freshman year, so, wait, are you you're a senior now, right?
Yeah, I actually, technically, my graduation was on finals day of outdoor conference this past weekend. So technically,
Oh.
I'm done now. I graduated and
Oh,
everything,
shit.
but yeah. So I've gone through my, you know my experiences with track and stuff, and you kind of live and you learn. But it's always tough getting DQ'd, but they make you better from it, and you learn, and then you move on.
Yeah. Yeah. How so you just said you just graduated. How has that been so far? Or like what's next as far as well, I guess what's next in general, but then is track and field part of your future, or do you think that's done?
So with me, I'm done with track and field. As much as I would love to continue, or even come back for a fifth year for track and field and run again in college, I've had plenty of hamstring injuries. I ended up pulling my right hamstring my senior year of high school, and then again my freshman year of college. So I didn't even run my freshman year.
Oh
Uh,
man.
and then again this past, let's see, it was February, I pulled my other hamstring,
Oh man.
which was just it was brutal. What a horrible feeling. But I feel like for me, it's not in my best interest to come back, even though I think that I could see a lot of success still. I think that my body is telling me no, and as hard as that is, because it's like I said before, I grew up running track. I mean, my first track was I was 9 years old, and like I said, I've put my all into the sport, and it's like it's a piece of me now, right? Like that's my identity. Like for those that can't see, I'm wearing a quarter zip that says Sacramento State Track and Field on it. So as much as I would like to continue, I think it's time for me to put my spikes up and move on and go be an adult and everything. But as far as track goes, that's done. I mean, I had the best last season of my career I could have had. I'm number, I think on the website said I'm number 406 in the world right now for the 110-meter hurdles. So being top 500 is great. It's a great way to end it. Kind of defending my home turf. As our outdoor conference meet was at home, so I ended up getting two medals outdoors at home, which was great. But no, for the next part of my life, I'll be commissioning into the Marine Corps as an officer.
Dang.
So that was a pretty big decision I made going into summer last year. I ended up going through this thing called Officer Candidate School, which is, to put it into like the most plain terms I can, is basically like boot camp but for officers.
I gotcha.
So I went through OCS last summer. It was 10 weeks. It was brutal, but I've made some of like the best friends in my life that summer. You guys go through everything together. And it was a phenomenal experience, and I ended up graduating, good to go. So July 19th, I'll be commissioning into the Marine Corps as an officer.
Nice. Well, dang, it sounds like you have it all figured out.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like it's definitely it's a plan. But I feel like for me, my younger brother's also in the Marine Corps. My grandpa served in the Corps. My other grandpa was in the Air Force. Uncle in the Navy. So kind of made sense for me to kind of go down this route. And yeah, I'm beyond excited just for what's next. Yeah, I'm just excited.
Nice. Well, thanks in advance for your service.
Yeah.
But that's so interesting because I don't know, like again, I said like right before we started recording was like we have the same name, so I like in my head I was like, oh my God, we're like the same person, but it's like such different uh ways that our lives are like panning out. It's I don't
Mhm.
know, something about that is so interesting to me,
Yeah.
but. Yeah, like I grew up in so you grew up in and around LA, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And then I grew up in
You
like
said you grew up in Washington.
I grew up in the Chicago suburbs.
Oh,
And then
Midwest.
yeah. And
Even
then
cold.
yeah. And then I went to school in Evansville, Indiana. But then like also like yeah, I had like my little track thing in high school, but other than that, like, I mean, obviously, we probably have much more things in common than we don't have in common, and I think that's true
Yeah.
for like anybody in the world. But again, there's just so many like I don't know, something about like all the little differences it's so interesting to me.
Hmm.
Was gonna say like you said, like the warm weather and the cold weather thing, and like I don't know, just the way we grew up and things we're doing now. And like I studied art in school, and like I'm an art major, or like I was an art major. I would call myself like an artist, but then you're like this athlete, and you're going to like the military. Like it's so like I feel like we're such like
It's
very
very, very
different,
diverse forces. Yeah.
yeah. But at the same time, like I just said, like I think we do probably have a lot more in common than we don't have in common. But
Yeah. I'd say so.
um, I think it'd be funny to like try and see what kind of stuff we like do or don't like. I don't know, things we did the same or thing like things you like or don't like or whatever to see if we're the same. Do
Let's see.
you? I
What's
just
like
gotta. Yeah,
no, go
you
for
have
it.
any?
I'm trying to get questions. I'm trying to get questions.
Listen, I just had a burger before this, but I get no pickle on the burger. Do you eat pickles or no?
I do not like pickles. I will
Me
not put them
either.
on my burger. No.
Me either.
I absolutely don't. Let's see, for if I have a burger, also do you like sesame seed buns or do you like regular buns?
Probably just regular most of the time, but I don't think I would complain if it was a sesame seed one.
Mm, yeah, I like plain buns. I'm not a big sesame seed guy.
I like it on a hot dog, better than I would on a burger.
I feel yeah, I can agree with that 100%. Like let's see, like
Definitely.
what like one of the most basic questions, like what's your favorite color?
Um,
You're an artist, so
uh,
you're gonna come up with crazy like
yeah, I
fuchsia.
know.
Something like that.
I know. I was like literally in my head, I was like, where do I even start? But I like there's so many like choices. But like if I had to choose one, I think I'd say green, even if it's like not the one I like use or wear the most, but I think I would have to go with green or yellow. But
Yeah,
what would you say?
my mom's favorite color is green, but I think mine would have to be orange. I just
Okay.
something about orange. I just love.
That's fine. So we're not the same.
We're not the same, but we have similar interests. I guess because orange
Do
and
you
green are more
know?
like earthy tones, I guess, or whatever.
Yeah,
So
you could say
there's
so.
that.
Hmm.
What do you say?
Do you have what was I gonna say? Um Oh, do you know like your like ethnicity and all that, or like countries that your family like ancestors came from?
Yeah, I mean, so I'm actually Jewish. Um, so my like family heritage is from like Hungary and Czechoslovakia, so like like Eastern European countries and stuff like that. So
I'm just
uh,
sorry, I'm not trying to laugh at you or interrupt you, but mine too. I'm not Jewish, but my family comes from that area. That's what my mom always tells me is that like whenever I ask her like, "Oh, where are you from?" She always says like Hungary and Turkey.
what the
Like what
fuck?
the So I was like, yeah, like that. So that's a little crazy.
That actually is interesting because I know like there aren't like I mean Winger's not like the most uncommon last name, but it's also not something that you hear like all the time. So like I
Yeah,
guess in that sense, that's a little that. Oh, I just gave it a little thumbs up. I guess that's kind of interesting though. But that is actually very funny yeah,
yeah. You said
that's
that. I was like,
crazy.
oh shit.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
What the hell?
Um, and I was like, that's like fucking with my head right now. Dude, I'm just thinking about like the
I'm
possibility
gonna
of
need to take like
like,
a DNA test or something like that and see what
yeah.
happens. Because now I'm like this might be something a little more. I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah. It's probably like absolutely nothing too, but it's
No.
like just like the chance that I don't know, what if we're like distant like cousins or something
or
like that.
something like that,
That'd be
dude.
so funny.
That could be so funny.
That'd be so crazy, especially too, just because I like happened to like see like, is there another Zach Winger in the world? And I was like, oh shit, like this guy, like it's kind of the same as you said, like this guy's a real person. Like there actually is another person named Zach Winger. Like I was like, oh, I guess I'll send him a message, and then yeah, you reply. I was
Shit
like, oh shit,
happens.
but I just thought it was, I thought, got to be a few more of us, or at least other, I don't like other separate families with the Winger last
Yeah,
name.
I know there's like she used to be like a professional like USA track and field thrower. I don't remember if she did shot put or javelin or whatever it was, but her name's Cara Winger. No, there's no relation either. But just like every time I see it, I'm like it's not like the name like Davis or Smith or something like that, where I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
like there's 70 million of them. But like for
Yeah.
us, like I don't hear that last name that often. So
Yeah.
there there's always
Exactly.
like that. There's always that initial thought where you're
Like we're related.
like maybe like it's funny because there's a girl. She committed to Sac State track and field for next year. Her name's Jalen Hunter, and it's funny
Mhm.
because in the last like week, I've seen a Jalen Hunter commit to some like random D3 football school, and then another Jalen Hunter commit somewhere else for a track, and I'm like, it's just so strange. And then like I get
Yeah.
this random DM from you like a year and a half ago, and I'm like, what are the
Like what is
odds?
going on? Yeah.
Like there's no way.
Yeah.
But yeah, that
That's
is
hilarious.
really that's funny.
I think it's funny too that the you said the woman that apply or committed to Sac State. You said Sac State, right? Is where she committed
Yeah.
to.
Yeah.
So like her last name's Winger, and she also does track and field. I was like, why do all of us have some sort of like connection with track and field? Even if mine's like very, very small, but still.
Yeah, like her is obviously like professional thrower for USA track and field, and I
Oh
think she
yeah,
was
okay.
sponsored by Nike or something like that. I can't remember like who she was sponsored by, but like we've all had like some encounter. Like she's pro, I'm NCAA, and then you did it in high school and everything. But like there's
We're
still
all
that like
like three levels of it.
yeah, exactly. But like there's always like there's some sort of connection through and through. So that's pretty sick.
So
But
interesting.
yeah, so so obviously you asked me like what my plan is now. I mean, so you said you graduated last year from college or did you graduate recently?
Like December, so like
December.
halfway
Okay.
through the most recent school year. Yeah.
So it's been about 6 months. So you said you're an art major. What exactly like what are you interested in going into? Like what do you want to do?
Yeah. So I guess like since graduating, I obviously like started this podcast, which I would argue is a form of art making, and just kind
Yeah.
of creating like a community or like a safe place for people. But really, it's just a way to like keep myself doing and making something all the time. And then just like keep rolling it out and going and going and going and going. Just because I think that's a good practice as an artist. But yeah, like ideally, I want to call myself an artist, like, and that just be like the main source of income and all that. Right
Right.
now, I'm still working like a retail job in the mall. But that one like pays the bills and everything. But yeah, I'm trying to keep on making stuff so that the art can kind of take over and again become like a livable source of income and all that good stuff. Um, but the long term like dream goal future is basically I just get to make art or something like making something
Mm,
that people see for like I guess like functional art if that makes sense. So like
yeah.
posters and billboards and videos and whatever else like some sort of advertisement or marketing or even just regular art like just like art for art's sake.
Yeah.
basically, like, to put it very, very simply, just like I want to make money from making bullshit. And again, it's not about the money. I just say that um I want to be able to live off of just making cool shit. That's a better way to put it.
Yeah, I mean, you want to do something that you're passionate about or you enjoy, which I think is the best way to live. I mean, if you're not enjoying what you're doing, or at least somewhat enjoying it, I feel like you just got to find something else. I mean, like for now, I feel like you're doing it smart. You're working the retail job. You're like you said, you're paying the bills. You're getting stuff to kind of help pursue your long term goal and just like keep you afloat for now until it takes over, kind of thing. So I feel like that's pretty sick. And I mean, hey, who doesn't like making cool shit? So
Yeah,
there there
yeah.
is
Well,
there is that.
yeah, well, thanks for saying it's cool, but it feels good, and especially like as time goes on and if the art stuff really does start to take over, like you said, that's all anybody ever wants is to like wake up and go to work, but you don't feel like you're going to work, like where you look forward to
Mhm.
going to work. I feel like that's anybody's dream and goal
100%. Yeah.
a little bit. So um that's what I want to happen, like, and I'm trying to take little steps to make it happen, but yeah, I that's the life I want to live, and I'll shout this out to the world forever, but like I think people should, like, kind of like you just said, like, do what you want to do. Like, what is stopping you from doing what you want to do? Like, and why would you not, you know?
Like settle for something that's like gonna just kind of, I don't know. There's no good way to put it, but just settle for something that isn't really what you want to do. I mean, obviously, like there are situations people can't control and whatnot, and that's a whole different conversation. But you know, it's I feel like especially people who have gone through stuff in their life, I feel like it's better to keep striving for what you actually want to do and not kind of like let a second go by without you enjoying it or cherishing that moment, kind of like with what I've done with track and what you're trying to do with just art in general. So yeah.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that too about like people who have gone through something, because I can't believe I like didn't even think about this, but I'm sure you know, or if I told you or whatever, but I guess like my like big thing about myself is I'm like a cancer survivor. So I was like,
Right.
I don't know if like you or like your family members have ever had any sort of, like, I'm sure you like know people who have or whatever, but
Mhm.
or I don't know, like hopefully like nothing related to that ever happens to you or your
Yeah.
people or anything, or
Mhm.
like anything like that ever. Like I would never ever. But I think the like you said, fighting through something part um could be something that, again, that we like have in common.
I mean, for me, I feel like I've gone through like the more normal stuff. I mean, like my grandpa passed away, during COVID. I mean, it wasn't from COVID, but it was during COVID, and like that was like the first like major thing that's like major death, I guess, in my family and stuff like that. So, kind of dealing with that. I mean, a lot of people at this point have gone through something like that. But I mean, for me, I feel like when I think about track, I feel like I've sacrificed so much stuff, like certain relationships I've gotten rid of, or just things that I like to do. I just got rid of it because I wanted to focus on track. And not that I'm saying I went through stuff, but it was like the I don't know, like the experiences that I have gone through, like, related to and around track have shaped me into who I am today. Obviously, it's not cancer. Like, absolutely, like no relation to that in any way, which, first of all, great on you for getting through because like, that
Thank you.
is insane. I mean, everyone talks about, cancer survivors and stuff like that. And it's like, my family, my grandpa, like he had a form of cancer too, and whatever, and he went through that, and it's like watching people go through that stuff it's tough, but when you make it out, I mean, I feel like it's like we mentioned before, you do end up cherishing every single moment afterwards because you almost didn't have those, so it's like that's what makes it just so much more special.
Yeah,
um
absolutely. That's what kind of fires me up to be that person where it's like, okay, well then I'm not gonna settle for anything less than what I really want because I, you know what I mean? Like, does that make sense? I don't know
Oh
how to
yeah,
like explain it
like,
further,
I'm
but
I'm 100% on the same page as you. I completely understand.
yeah. And you said something in the middle of that I was gonna. Oh, because you said like the stuff that you and I have like been through like aren't the same, or maybe mine was like obviously more traumatic or whatever. But
Right.
the thing that I think we have in common, and I think a lot of people. I'm trying to think. I'm struggling like putting into words, but I think what a lot of people could benefit from hearing is using that stuff to fire you up and keep going. Um, and it does make you a better person, and it can
Mm.
totally shape your life for the better or for the worse, depending on how you act. But I
Yeah.
think the key part is like it can, like the hard stuff you're going through now, no matter how big or small, you can react positively to that stuff.
Oh, 100%. You can let it like motivate you to do better in the future or change a just as something as little as like a bad habit, you know. But I feel like when you push through these moments, like they are what shapes you into a person. So it's really how you respond to these situations. And, I've talked about it with my teammates so much at this point. If you have a bad race, like it's like I feel like for me at least, I can relate a lot of stuff to track and field, which just because I've done it for so fucking long.
Yeah.
But like it's how you respond to these moments is what shapes you, right? Like you have a bad race, like what are you gonna let it like consume you? Are you gonna sit there and sulk? Or are you gonna like
Yeah.
reset, refocus, get back to work and not let it happen again next week? Like it's as simple as those tiny little life lessons that just kind of stick with you, you know, for the rest of your life. It
Yeah.
shows how mature you are, how you can react under, stressful situations and all that stuff.
Yeah, and I think it's good. One of my goals with this is to try to talk to like as many different people as I can with as many different backgrounds as possible. So I think it's good, even like because we're talking about like this big umbrella of like because we were talking about like funny, like random, silly stuff, but then now we just got into this like deep, like motivational stuff. But
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
good it's good. I think that's good in general, but I think it's good for like-minded people to hear you like use like track and field metaphors to explain what I'm saying. You know, does that make sense? Like the way I'm
Yeah,
saying all this stuff like makes sense to like my crowd of people, I think, but then the way that you're interpreting it and the way that you're spitting it back out, I think um opens up what I'm saying to like a whole nother um
like crowd
crowd
of
of people
people.
who
Yeah, yeah.
so
It is kind of interesting that you said that. I mean, it's yeah, like I think it is important to talk to as many different kinds of people as you can because obviously, like different people just do different things. They understand things differently, and some sort of like lingo might not be interpreted the same way. So it is kind of I think that's actually pretty cool. Yeah, like on your last podcast, like I saw his Instagram. Like I went to it and I saw that he is like big on film or like videography or stuff like that. So it's like that's completely unrelated to what I've ever done in my life, but I'm sure that like you guys could talk about so many things because like film is absolutely a form of art, like
yeah.
it 100% is. So I feel like that's really cool for you guys.
Yeah, yeah. He's also like one of my childhood friends. So like he was like my childhood. He was like the first friend I ever had.
That's sick.
But yeah, so like and then we're both like art people. A lot of who I've been talking to has been art people, but again, I wanna get like everybody. Like I want to get anybody and everybody and just again, like it is important to um talk to as many people as possible and see how other people live and how other people think. I think I've said on one of the episodes before. I think I was talking about. it in an art sense, but this applies to like life in general too. That being close-minded is like one of the worst things you could ever do to yourself. Like,
100%.
just
Yeah.
put yourself in a box and don't look outside, and it can be really, really bad. So luckily we have stuff like the internet and maybe like easier access to traveling and whatnot, but
Yeah.
or whatever the case might be. But luckily I feel like the world is like more connected now than it used to be, which I
Yeah.
think is a good thing.
I think it's good because I mean things change so fast now too that I feel like, back in the day, you didn't have the internet, things were moving a little slower. Now, I mean, things are infinitely changing so fast and without, kind of just yeah, I guess the internet and stuff to help move it along, I feel like it would make life so much harder. So we definitely have access to things that are amazing and kind of keeps us a little more open-minded to trying new things and stuff in that realm. But
Yeah.
yeah, you're definitely right. The technology is absolutely like crucial to what we do now. I mean, just but without the internet, I would never met you. You would never met me. We
Yeah,
never
yeah,
would have,
exactly.
understood. We both don't like pickles on our hamburgers. I mean, it's not like I don't know. It's interesting.
Yeah, isn't that's weird to think about too, and like oh, by the way, too, I should have said this earlier, but obviously there's no, I'm sure you know this by now, there's no like form or structure to this or whatever, so I'm
Oh
totally
yeah,
okay with like whatever
yeah,
path this conversation might take. Like
yeah,
if we go back to what we were talking about earlier, we can talk about back the whole time, we can stay like deep and philosophical like how we have been the whole
yeah,
time.
yeah.
I'm
We're
I'm
just we're
totally
just
okay
two
with
dudes
the thing.
chatting, man. That's all it is. Just
Exactly,
chatting.
exactly.
Easy enough. Oh yeah,
But it's one of those like shower thoughts or whatever, or like late at night, like laying in bed, and you're like, it really is weird how different things could have been if we existed at a different time. Like you said, like we just didn't, or we never would have met if we didn't have like phones and stuff. So it's like,
yeah,
God, imagine if like people from like I don't know, like centuries ago had like access to phones and internets and stuff, and they're
dude.
all like, I don't know, the world would be such a different place, I think. But
Like, can you imagine someone from like the mid 1700s like coming back and then seeing an iPhone or seeing like a MacBook? Like, they're probably like, "What the fuck is this, dude?"
yeah,
Like, I feel like that would be the most reasonable thing, though. I mean, it's so different. I mean, this I have an alarm clock next to me that like lights up and shit. Like,
how do you
they
explain that?
didn't have yeah, like it's not a lamp, with like a freaking what I'm blanking on the freaking animal that like makes the crazy sounds in the morning to wake you up. Is it a
Oh,
turkey?
like a rooster?
Rooster, yeah, yeah. Like it's not like that. Like this thing lights up, can make noise and shit. Like
Yeah,
and it's
yeah,
like
that's interesting too.
how the fuck did I forget about a rooster? What the hell's wrong with me? That's
No,
crazy. That's so fucking
but they used
stupid.
to like send like pigeons in the air to like send like a letter or whatever.
Yeah.
It's like
How did that
that's
bird know where it was supposed to go? What the
I think
heck?
about that all the time. I'm like, there's no way.
There's literally no way.
Like
Like
I don't
by
believe that.
chance, by chance, this little note gets to the one person I'm looking for, 1,300
Like all the
miles
way
away.
across, yeah, like
Dude,
across the whole fucking US.
no, there's no way that bird would have gotten eaten on its way over there. 100%.
Yeah, yeah, or just like go literally anywhere else. Like, but I guess
Yeah.
I looked this up once like a long time ago, and from what I can remember, I think there's I've heard two different things. One is that no matter how far a bird goes, it can always remember its like home.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So
That
you can
too.
at least like send a letter out somewhere, and then the bird would like know how to come back, which I kind of like. Okay, that I kind of believe.
Yeah.
But for the sending out part, like what are you supposed to just send it in like a straight line exactly where you want it to go,
Just
and it'll
toss it
just
up.
go forever? Like,
Like
or
it knows.
how the fuck is it supposed to know?
Like I don't know. Like I have no idea because that doesn't. I don't know. It's one of those things that'll always baffle me that just
Yeah.
they're able to figure it out, and now we have no clue. So
Yeah. I can't believe that it's true.
yeah,
I don't
that
know.
is
I don't think it's true.
that's crazy. Yeah,
That's
jeez.
funny. How is it like how is it growing up in like so when you say like in LA, like a lot of times when I tell people like, "Oh, I'm from Chicago," I'm actually from like the western suburbs, but it's like part of like kind of part of Chicago, but like not really.
Yeah,
Um, but I tell people like, "Oh, usually I say like I'm from by Chicago."
yeah.
Um,
So
so like
so for me, it's
how was
like
it growing up?
yeah. So I'm from like this place called West Hills. So it's like it's literally west of LA. So it's still part of LA County. And downtown's like 35 minutes away with no traffic. But I'm from yeah, more like the western suburbs in LA.
It's so
Um,
weird because that's like the same exact situation. Like, sorry to cut you off.
from no, but like from the major city, just
Yeah,
go
like
west, and that's
it's so weird.
yeah. I'm a little. I mean, technically, I'm also like a tiny bit south, but like
Yeah,
whatever. Um, yeah, I loved it. I loved growing up there. Obviously, it's like it's expensive as hell to live down there now. So like when my parents, bought the house they lived in, like it was super super cheap at the time and everything, and now with everything, it's so much more expensive. But my experience growing up was awesome. I mean, the weather down there is amazing. Like even when it did rain, it didn't rain like too much or like nothing like that. It was the weather growing up was perfect. There's a lot to do down there. I know from me, like Malibu or like the beach is like maybe a half hour, 25 minutes from me. But then if you drive 45 minutes, the other way, you got Disneyland, you got Anaheim, you have all those places, downtown LA, the Valley, that's all, right there. So I loved it. It was such a great experience. I'm very grateful that I lived there because I I don't like snow very much. It's not my thing. I like being more comfortable than not. Um, but my experience growing up down there was amazing. I've been in Sacramento for 4 years now for school, and it's just not the same. It
do
like this
you get
place.
snow, in Sacramento?
Oh God, no! If it snowed here, something would be really wrong.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
it rains a pretty solid amount up here, but it doesn't snow. It hailed a couple times, and we've seen some pretty crazy like lightning storms and whatnot. But I'd say Sacramento compared to LA too is like it doesn't compare. Everything in Sacramento I've realized is like 15 minutes apart. Like if you just need to go from one side of Sacramento to the other, it's literally like a 15-minute drive, and everything is so close. Uh, but the one thing about Sacramento is that like it's a great foodie town. Like there's
Really?
so many different kinds of foods to eat and stuff. But growing up in LA, it was the same thing. It was just more variety, and there's just so much to
Yeah.
do. So for me, obviously, I love LA. I love where I grew up way more than Sacramento.
Yeah.
But um, but yeah, I mean, it's it's just crazy. The weather down in LA is like perfect all the time. And then in the summer it gets to like, 115 or whatever. But
Oh my gosh, yeah.
it's all dry heat. It's not like the humidity that you have to deal with in Indiana or Chicago or anything
Yeah,
like that. Humidity, I mean, last summer when I was in Virginia for OCS, it was disgusting outside.
it's
Like it was
hot,
just
yeah.
so like we would take like cold showers because if you didn't, you would just be sweating in the shower. Like
Yeah, yeah.
that's
Sometimes they'll
absolutely
step
not,
outside and like a slap in the face, like, it's
dude.
just
Yeah.
rough.
It's also different though because like you did grow up in it, so it's like, maybe it's not as a slap in the face to you as it is to me. But then if you came out here, it'd be so dry, right?
Yeah, I'm
So
sure I
like,
don't know how I would react, to that type of
yeah,
weather. I never been out there.
it's definitely like easier to breathe and stuff out here when it's not humid because you don't have like dew forming in your throat. But like,
Yeah.
uh,
That's
but no,
interesting.
it's yeah, I love growing up in LA. Would you say that you liked Chicago or Indiana more?
Definitely Chicago. Well, sorry, I have 2 thoughts. I'll answer your question in a second, but
Okay,
I've
gotcha.
I've talked about this story, like, 3 or 4 times on the podcast, but on, like, one of the very first episodes, my friend and I were talking, and I think we were talking about, like, places we wanna live and whatnot, and
Mhm.
somehow, like, Los Angeles came up, and I was like, "Dude, like, LA is so overrated, like, everybody wants to go there, blah, blah, blah," and my friend, Austin from the most recent episode was like he's from the Chicago suburbs, but, he's been to LA a few times, and he, like, really wants to live there, and he was like, "You can't say that if you've never been there." I was just being dramatic, and I was also, like I had, like, a few, like, beers in me at the time, so I was just kinda, like, talking out of my ass, but I was like, "Everyone wants to go there, and it's like blah, blah, blah," but, again,
To be
I
fair,
really want to travel there sometime.
so it's funny that you say that because growing up there, it'd be really hard for me to go back and live there.
Oh,
Like
interesting.
I loved growing up at 100%. But there's so much that goes on there, and I mean, the traffic alone, I mean, I'm sure you've heard LA traffic is horrible. Yeah, it's horrendous. There are what was the number? I think there's 13 million people that live in LA
That's crazy.
or something. It's like some crazy. It's definitely over 10. I think it's
Yeah,
13 million people,
it's more than
and it's just
Chicago.
yeah, like it's just like LA's pretty big, but for that amount of people, I mean, it's insane. And I mean, like I said, there's so much to do there and there's so much opportunity, but I really don't think that I would go back to live there. I think, like I said, visiting would be sick. I mean, I love going home for the summer and I love doing that and being home on break and all that stuff. But like, if I were to live down there, it would be because I'm wealthier than I could have ever imagined and
Yeah.
I can I can afford to live down there, right? Like it's expensive as hell, dude.
Yeah.
So it's funny that you say that because I think you're right. Yeah, I think you're mostly right, obviously. But like but you're onto something there.
Yeah, I was like,
It's
I definitely,
not
like I'm not as passionate about it as I made it sound like I was, but,
yeah,
I do think there's some truth to what I was saying, like, it's just, like, where
100%.
everybody just wants to go, but it's like obviously, like, with all those people there, there's gotta be something good going on there,
Oh,
so I'm not gonna,
100%.
like, put it down entirely,
Yeah.
but it is just, like, the classic, like, "I wanna live there."
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of reasons to live there, and then there's a good amount of reasons not to. But I think that if anyone wanted to live there, I would not stop them at all because there are tons of people that I don't know if you've heard this, but like so many people are leaving LA to go live in Texas and Nevada and Arizona and all
Yeah.
that stuff because their money just goes so much further like in those other places. It's so ridiculous.
Yeah, I have been hearing about that actually.
Yeah.
Um, but what was it? Oh, so I definitely like Chicago. Going back to your question,
Oh, right, right,
I
yeah.
definitely like Chicago more. It's just so I'm in Evansville, Indiana, so not even like Indianapolis. Like Evansville is like Indiana comes to like a point at the bottom. It's this little town right on the river. Well,
Mhm.
it's a city technically, but it's very small. Your
Gotcha.
downtown area has like it's not like there's no skyscraper. There's some tall buildings, but it's just like this little downtown area, and and there's like a river walk, and there's really cute like downtown local shops and some
Oh,
local
nice.
restaurants and stuff like that, but not really. Really, it's just like Evansville on the west side. There's like USI where I went to school, and then on the east side there's UE, University of Evansville. So it's pretty much just like a college town. So there's just like a bunch of college kids here.
Wait,
People who mostly it's people who like grew up here and then just went to like their local college. Which is like I feel like kind of like an asshole. There are good things about Evansville. There are things that I really really like.
yeah,
Sorry,
100%.
okay. Let's say my screen's frozen, but I was just making sure you could hear me still. But I
Yeah, I
heard you
can.
just now.
Yeah, you're
Okay.
good.
Um, so there are good things about it, but overall, again, kind of like you said about LA, like it's not. I enjoyed my time here when I was and still am here, but it is not somewhere I want to stay forever.
Right.
um,
Which is
but
reasonable.
yeah, there's good things. Like I said this like 5 times. There are good things about it. But it's just kind of like growing compared to growing up in Chicago, it's so much slower, and there's like not nearly as much to do, which I don't like. But I think a lot of people do actually like that, or at least like it's like comforting for them for people who don't want to live in like a massive busy city. But yeah, I would much rather live not in like a massive city, but like very close to a pretty large city
Yeah.
is where I would want to be.
So like if you wanted to go do stuff, you're more than able to, but you know, you don't need to be in the immediate vicinity of it at all times.
Yeah, yeah. It'd be
Okay.
cool to like work downtown or like have like a art studio or something that's like downtown, but then to live in the like suburbs, I think would be
Gotcha.
much better. I think that's why most people, or not most people, like a lot of people, that's why the suburbs even exist in the first place, is so that people can get like the best of both worlds, basically.
Yeah, they have the option, or like they have whatever ability to go and work wherever they want to work, in the big city, but then they can go home and hang out in like the nicer, smaller community that they can just kind of, it's nice and quiet and easier to be there, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. Can you see me on the screen still?
I mean, I can see your face, but you're still frozen.
Oh, okay. For me, both of us are frozen, but
Oh,
I hope this happened earlier too, but I'm hoping it just kind of like snaps out of it eventually.
yeah,
Um, but I guess it doesn't matter if there's no
I can
video
still,
anyhow.
I can
But
hear
yeah.
you. It's good enough, yeah.
Um, but yeah, as I, growing up in Chicago was a pretty good experience. Like, and I had a very good. Well, okay, growing up in Chicago was a little bit misleading, but growing up in the suburbs of Chicago was really good. And luckily I had parents who like were really good to me, and I had like we're like lower middle class, so I mean we didn't have like a ton of money, but
Mhm.
we weren't like dead broke either. So I was pretty lucky as a kid, but like it's just like the normal, like you go play outside, and sorry, Mike, can you still hear me?
Yeah, I hear.
My computer's like really going through it right now.
Oh,
um, but yeah, it's like the normal, like you go outside and like play with like your neighbors and stuff, and then go inside for dinner and go to school, like
mhm.
all the normal kid stuff. So yeah, I was pretty lucky to have like a very normal childhood, I would say.
Yeah. When you were growing up in, so I know people from the Midwest. But like my girlfriend's in the Midwest, and she says that she has like snow days and stuff. Like they couldn't go to school like some days because it was just so snowy outside that it was just you couldn't even get there. Did you have that
Yeah.
too?
Yeah, definitely. Like sometimes the snow and like ice conditions on the road, even if it's not like what you might be imagining is like 10 feet of snow and it's just like snow everywhere and like you literally can't even move. Like it's not quite like that. But sometimes just the like inches or feet, a foot or whatever of snow, but then also like ice and stuff on the road. I think really it's just like the road conditions is what determines like getting to school or not.
Gotcha.
So like in my opinion, like I don't know, sometimes I think they go a little bit like overboard for when they well, okay, in Evansville, they will cancel school for like just a little bit of snow. But back
Mhm.
home, like it really is like you would hear like your grandparents say, or like back in my day, like we had to walk through 10 feet of snow to get to school. Like it really kind of was like that. Like in Chicago, the snow conditions are it takes a lot for them to cancel school is a better way to put it.
Gotcha. Yeah, like for us, we
Uh,
had like fire days or like smoke days,
oh my
basically,
god.
because it was like because no, there were some pretty horrible fires that like tore through like where I went to school and like kind of the surrounding area. So it's like hearing that you guys had snow days where you just it was like you said the conditions on the road were just too bad. Black ice, whatever. You can't do it. That's one thing. And then like for me growing up in LA and how it's kind of like fire, like there are fires all over the place. It's so strange that it's just such polar opposite things that, the smoke that consumed my school, like literally was so unhealthy that we had to go home. And then you guys just, were terrified of spinning out on the way to school, which is a very reasonable scare.
My computer fucking crashed. So, but yeah, now we're back rolling again. I forgot what we were talking about. Something about I think I
I
was
think I was I think
snow
I was
days.
talking about how you guys have like snow days and we have like smoke slash fire
Oh
days
yeah,
from school.
dude, that's so crazy to me. Like that's such an opposite thing. Like, it'll be like December or January, whatever, and then like we're checking the weather, and this is how it would go like on the news, like the school names that were canceled would kind of like scroll across the bottom and you would wait to see your school and it'd be like yeah, like it'd be a big
Yeah,
celebration when like school's canceled or whatever.
yeah, that's
um
so sick.
so yeah, that was fun as a kid, but it's because of snow and cold, like extreme cold and like bad driving conditions and stuff that is so different from um what's it called, like a fire day and smoke day like that. How does that even work?
Like literally there will be a fire like sort of in the area and I mean like it'll just be super smoky in the area to the point where like you'll walk outside and it looks like you're in a cloud.
Oh my god,
Like it gets to that point, but it's so crazy.
that's that is crazy, that's terrible.
Yeah, but I mean, I grew up with it for a while because we had so many fires growing up. But like, obviously, for me, it's different because I grew up with it. But like for you, like if I was in Chicago, that would be like a completely foreign concept.
Yeah, like I've never even like thought that that was a possibility before.
Exactly.
That's so weird.
Yeah.
um a lot of times too, like in Evansville, it'll be like cold outside, and I'll kind of like react or like complain about the cold, and then all my friends are like, "Shouldn't you?" Or like friends from Evansville, I'll be like, "It's cold as fuck out here," and they're like, "Well, shouldn't you be used to it? Like you grew up in Chicago." Blah blah blah. I'm like, "Well, no, like yeah, maybe, but I don't know. It's still fucking freezing outside."
Yeah. Literally.
So
That
it's
is crazy
interesting
though.
how because I think earlier you mentioned what's it called the like dry heat in LA is different from like the humid heat here, and I said like walking outside sometimes is like a slap in the face. And he said like, oh, like maybe you get used to the weather and it's not quite so bad for you. But I don't know, maybe it's just me, or maybe people just pretend it's not as bad. But um, I feel like I never get used to either end of the extreme temperatures. Like I the Midwest is always a really hot summer, but a really cold winter. It's
Really cold, yeah.
yeah, so it still gets to me like every time.
Yeah, I mean, though, I mean, those extremes, it's very, very hard to get used to either one of them because, I mean, they're called extremes for a reason. I feel like
Yeah.
so for like the obviously like the crazy humidity and stuff. It's like how do you deal with that? But also like the negative 20 degrees. Like
Yeah.
you can't just get used to that feeling. That's horrible.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. There was a time in Chicago when I was coming back during winter break from school, and I stepped out of my car to because it was winter in Evansville. Obviously, it's like winter at the same fucking time for everybody, but it wasn't nearly as bad in Evansville.
Mhm.
So I'm driving back home, and it's like record-breaking negative temperatures and stuff. And I stepped out of my car to pump gas, and from the time I was standing outside my car for maybe, I don't know, however long it takes to pump gas, like a minute or two,
A
and I
few
got
minutes.
back in, and my knuckles were all of my knuckles on both hands were cracked and bleeding because it was so cold and dry.
Yeah, that is
From
so bad.
from literally 2 minutes of standing outside. It was awful.
That's that is horrible. That sounds bad.
Yeah. Yeah,
Wow.
so it's a little crazy.
Yeah,
But I can't
I would
imagine
say
having to deal
so.
with fire that like and it's like well, and the recent LA fires, or I guess like the whole state of California has to deal with it, but that's scary for me all the way like out here in the Midwest, like just hearing about these like massive fires. That's got to be scary.
Yeah, I mean Malibu's like completely burned to the ground basically, and that's Malibu, Palisades. There was some couple fires in Pasadena. It's just nuts. It was like there was a fire that started like a mile and a half from my house.
Oh my gosh.
Like during all this stuff, and luckily the wind was blowing at the like away from my house, but like I can't even imagine the devastation it would have gone through to get to my house. So it's
Oh my
like
god. Yeah.
it's crazy, but I mean that's why Cal Fire is the best.
Yeah, yeah.
Reads that.
That's funny. We can I think we can start wrapping up, but
Yeah,
uh
definitely.
the ending segment I try to well not try the ending segment that I do is giving advice for the listener basically. So and it
Mhm.
can be anything you want, like any subject you want. It can be about like anything we talked about so far or something totally unrelated that we haven't talked about. It can be silly and stupid and lighthearted, or it can be like serious, like motivational advice or whatever. Like whatever route you want to go, I'm okay with. But yeah, that's the ending segment.
Interesting. Let me see here.
Yeah, if you want, I can start, and then you can try to like come up with something in the meantime, or build off of it, or whatever. Unless you have any.
Um, how about you just kind of start and either I'll build off of it or just kind of figure it out as you go.
Cool. All right. I don't have anything planned necessarily, but the first one that is coming to mind, and I'm sure I've used this one time and time again on the show, but I think it's something really important. And we touched on it a little bit earlier, but would just be to do things that you want to do, and do little things that um, get you closer and closer to the future that you want to live, because you are in control of what can happen in your future. And again, like we kind of said earlier, sometimes some things are out of your hands and some things you can't control. But I guess a good way to put my advice is control what you can control, and make choices that will make your future better, and just slow down and relax and think about all the things that are going good in your life, and make those good things a part of your life every single day. Um, yeah, that was a little bit all over the place, but I think
No,
I
it's
shouted out
it,
all my good advice.
yeah, it's funny that you mentioned that because I mean, for me, I'm gonna relate it again to track because I feel like that's been a pretty big theme for me, at least this podcast. So my coach, she would always say, um, before we raced and everything, she said, focus on the things you can control. No more, no less. That's all you can do, right? Like in the moment, the only things that matter are the things that you can control, right? You can't control what the person next to you is going to do, or the person 3 lanes over, or the starter, or anything like that, right? But everything that you do it's coming from you, right? And so I think that that's actually a very big thing. And kind of going off that too, you said, just slow down and, just take a second, right? Growing up, I learned to, in any kind of situation, just take that extra deep breath before doing anything, right? Like if you're in a high, just a stressful situation, or some sort of insane predicament or whatever you're in, right? You take that extra deep breath, you analyze the situation, and then you come up with a plan, and then you move forward, right? But you always take that extra deep breath before going and doing whatever you're doing, right? You consider your options, you consider everything. So I guess, yeah, slowing down just to take that extra deep breath, I guess that would be my contribution to everything, because taking that extra deep breath can go a long way, kind of depending on what you're doing. So yeah, I'd say, yeah, focus on the things you can control and take that extra deep breath. Those are good pieces of advice, I think.